Okay, objective 4, pairs of angles. So today we're going to review classifying angles and then talk about special angle pairs. Just as a reminder, acute angles are between 0 and 90, right angles are 90 degrees, obtuse angles are between 90 and 180. Now congruent angles are angles that have the same measure. So we've got here the measure of angle WIN is equal to the measure of angle LHS. We can also write this as angle WIN is congruent to angle LHS. Notice the notation here. Now we used arc marks, those little marks there on next to the I and the H. We use those to indicate congruent angles. Now if we'd had another set of angles here, we would have had two arc marks. And so you just go through, you match up arc marks to tell which angles are congruent to which. And again, notice that this, when we put the little m in front, then we're talking about the measure of the angle. In that case, we use the equal sign. If you don't see the m, then we're talking about the angles themselves, and we use the congruent symbol. The interior of angle is the set of all points between the sides of an angle, which gives us our angle addition postulate, which says that if D is in the interior of the angle, and we draw a ray through that from the vertex to that point, then it basically cuts the angle into two different pieces. Now the part plus the part has to be equal to the whole thing. So if the measure of angle ABD is equal to 50, that's the angle on the left, and the whole thing, the measure of angle ABC is 110, then we can find the measure of the angle on the right, or angle DBC, by subtracting 50 from 110, and we get 60. Another example using algebra would be if I have the measure of angle PAH is equal to 125 degrees and we want to solve for x. When you see the phrase solve for x, you need to think about setting up an equation. If one isn't already given to you, then you're going to have to set one up for yourself. So remember, the part plus the part is equal to the whole. That gives you a clue of how you want to set this thing up. So the left-hand angle plus the right-hand angle is equal to the whole thing. So the measure of PAT is 2x plus 8. The measure of angle TAH is equal to 3x plus 7, and the whole thing is 125. So we combine our like terms together, and again we're solving for x, so we want to make that 15 go away, so we subtract it from both sides and then divide by the number in front of x, and we get 22. Angle bisector. Now when you look at your word roots, I don't know if you've hit those yet in English, but when you do, bi means two, sect means to cut. So this is a ray that cuts or divides an angle into two pieces, and in this case two congruent pieces, so two congruent angles. So the measure of angle SUY is equal to the measure of angle, what do I have here, YUN. Okay, so they're two equal pieces, and you can tell they're equal because they have the little arc marks there. And so it basically works both ways. If you see those little arc marks, that means you have an angle bisector. If you have an angle bisector, then you would have those little marks. Adjacent angles, we've been talking about angles that have been next to each other. Well, the technical term for that is adjacent. So there are two angles in the same plane, so they're coplanar, with a common vertex and a common side, but no common interior points. An example I like to use for this is, let's say you two people are sitting in a movie theater, and the armrest between the two people is that's your common side. So you've got your armrest that you don't have to share with anybody right now, but you've got the armrest that you have to share with somebody. That's your common side. So you two are sitting adjacent to each other. Now a linear pair is two adjacent angles whose non-common sides are opposite rays. Basically, these are two angles that form a line. Now, you need to be able to see a linear pair from now until June, because these are going to come up over and over and over again. So, if you look at the name linear pair, you see the word line in it. Okay, you see this word line here. That's going to be very kind of a clue as to what it is we're talking about here. Okay, so as again, you can see these things form a line. Vertical angles, again, this is another one that is very, very important. You're going to see this from now until June. there are two non-adjacent angles formed by two intersecting lines, and they are always congruent. I would like you, whenever you see two intersecting lines, the first thing that comes into your head is going to be vertical angles. You may not necessarily always need vertical angles, but if you always immediately recognize vertical angles, that will certainly help you along here. So in this case, we've got angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles, which means they're congruent. And angle 2 and angle 3 are vertical angles, which means they're congruent. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So in the examples we have here, let's come back here, angle A and angle B are complementary because, again, 55 plus 35 is equal to 90. Supplementary angles are angles that add up to 180. So we've got angle A and angle C are supplementary, again, because 55 and 125 adds up to 180. Now there's lots of different cute little routines of how to memorize which one goes with which. To me, the simplest is kind of the best here. C comes before S, so 90 comes before 180. I just remember alphabetical order. This is the way I keep it straight. So looking at practice here, we've got a straight line. Now a straight line is 180 degrees. So if we take 180 minus 60, why this one doesn't cooperate, we get 120. So the measure of angle 1 is going to be 120 degrees. Now angle 2, we've got this little symbol here means that we've got a right angle. Right angle is 90 degrees. So we take 90 minus 51, somewhere in here we're going to get 39. Okay, and then finally we have vertical angles. Again, you have two lines that intersect each other. They form vertical angles. So 105 and angle 3 are congruent, which means that angle 3, as soon as this thing decides to cooperate, angle 3 is going to be 105 degrees.